All right, put a one in the chat. Put a one in the chat if you can hear the sound of my voice. Put a one in the chat if you can hear the sound of my voice. I'm here live in New York City right now, ladies and gentlemen, and make sure you put that one in the chat. Okay, so we're here outside the Southern District of New York Federal Courthouse where in just a couple of days, Sean Diddy Combs will be in court to pick a jury. Monday at 8:30 a.m., jury selection will begin, and it will be a packed courtroom. I have been here all day doing my research, pretty much looking at all the different possibilities of an opportunity for coverage. And when I tell you the perimeter of the courthouse is going to be airtight security. I had an opportunity to speak to some individuals that will be a part of the security team. And when I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this is the trial of the century. We thought O.J. Simpson's trial was big. This is bigger. What we didn't have in the O.J. Simpson trial, we have in this trial is heavy social media. We have a lot of new media coverage, and we will have veteran journalists. And this may be my last trial coverage. So I had to be here. We are here live outside the federal courthouse, and I have something very special that I have in my hand. This is a transcript that I obtained from the last hearing where the judge discusses with the both parties about the plea negotiation. And we're going to give you the exact transcript of what happened in the last hearing. And while we're talking about transcripts, ladies and gentlemen, there was a number thrown out there about the course of a transcript for the start to the finish of the trial. That number is not accurate. That number's, we're not going to go into why that number is not accurate, because I have the transcript and I will have the daily transcripts from the trial, gavel to gavel. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, I want to welcome everyone here today. We are here in New York City. It is now 4:31. The court will be closed in the next 30 minutes. However, we have the media outside the courthouse doing their pre-trial coverage. And I'm here, ladies and gentlemen, to give you the trial coverage of the century. And we're going to be here gavel to gavel. I will be inside the courtroom. I won't be outside with Big Bertha because I need to have a seat in the courtroom. As you know now, there will be no cameras in the courtroom. There will be a few phones allowed in the courtroom, but that's for select media. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about what happened. But let me see we're going to do a light roll call real quick. And listen, this is important. I'm in New York City for 2 months. I'm here for 2 months. And when I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, New York is not like Atlanta. The coverage is going to be accurate, but it's going to be a lot of resources necessary. We'll just leave it at that. With that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's go over what the judges said in the hearing. Stand by. Make sure you tag a friend, tag a friend, tag a friend. Let people know that we are going to give you a blow-by-blow of what happened in the courtroom. And we're going to start out with the deputy clerk of the court, where they are now introducing all the parties. And make sure you're taking notes, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you are taking notes because these details matter. These details matter. So the clerk of the court says, "Counsel, please state your appearance, starting with the government." Ms. Comey, who was with the government, "Good afternoon, Your Honor. Maureen Comey, Mitzi Steiner, Meredith Foster, Madison Miser, and Christy Slavic for the government." The court, the judge, "Good afternoon. Mr. Agnifilo, good afternoon, Your Honor. You have Mark Agnifilo, Teeny Geragos, Brian Steele, Alexandra Shapiro, or Alex Shapiro, and Jason Driscoll. And here's a breaking news development. Today, a new member of the team has been added. Mr. Xavier Donaldson has been added to Sean Puffy Combs' case today. He had filed a notice of appearance today, and he is now another addition to the defense team. So that brings his defense team up to 5 people. I did not see Nicole Westmoreland's name filed into the case, so I don't know if that was a one-off when she showed up about 2 weeks ago. But as it stands now, These are the lawyers who will be on the case. So that's a new development in the case, and we're going to go ahead and see what else was said in the courtroom in this hearing. So Mr. Nifrio announced that he, along with his co-counsel, will be representing Mr. Combs. The court, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Combs. The court dressed puffy. The court said, good afternoon. And Puffy responded, good afternoon, Your Honor. The court, first let's handle the allocution regarding the plea offer from the government. So I'm going to inquire regarding the government's offer of a plea and the communication of that offer to Mr. Combs. So the judge wants to make sure that Mr. Combs know that there was a plea offer and it was communicated to him. So Mr. Combs, if you just listen to the questions that I'm going to ask to the government and to your attorneys, you can remain seated if it's more comfortable, or you can stand. Just listen carefully to the questions that I asked the government and to your counsel, and then I'm going to have a couple of questions for you, sir. So the judge to let them know, I'm going to pose questions to the state, and I'm going to pose questions to your defense, and I'm going to directly pose questions to you. So Mr. Combs, if you just listen to the questions that I'm going to ask to the government and to your attorneys, you can continue sitting down. To the government, did the government extend a plea offer to Mr. Combs? Ms. Comey, yes, Your Honor. The court, was it in writing? Ms. Comey, it was, Your Honor. The court, in the government's view, is Mr. Combs' sentencing exposure if he proceeds to trial and is, if convicted on every count, greater than the exposure he would face if he had accepted the plea offer? Ms. Comey, it is, Your Honor. The court. Now let me turn to Mr. Agnifilo. Did defense counsel give Mr. Combs a copy of the plea offer and discuss it with him? Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am reading the transcript, so there may be some typos in the transcript. And I'm seeing that, but that's okay. We can fix it. We have a bus passing, so stand by. The court, did the defense counsel discuss to Mr. Combs' sentencing exposure if he went to trial and were convicted on all counts? Mr. Agnifilo, yes, Your Honor. The court, did the defense counsel make a recommendation to Mr. Combs as to whether he should accept or reject the plea offer? Mr. Agnifilo, we discussed it with him and together came to a decision. The court, Mr. Combs, have you taken any drugs, medicine or pills, or had any alcohol in the last 24 hours? Mr. Combs, no, Your Honor. So the judge wants to make sure he's of great sound mind and body. The court, is your mind clear today? Mr. Combs, yes, Your Honor. The court, have you heard the questions I asked the government attorneys and your counsel and their answers? Mr. Combs, yes, I have, Your Honor. The court, was your attorney's account of his discussion with you accurate? Mr. Combs, yes, they were. The court, did you see the government's plea offer and discuss it with your counsel? The defendant, yes, I did, Your Honor. The court, and have you rejected the government's plea offer? Mr. Combs, yes, I do, Your Honor. The court, thank you very much. The defendant, Mr. Combs. So in the transcript, they refer to him as the defendant. I'm going to refer to him as Mr. Combs. So whenever I get to a part where a question is being opposed to Mr. Combs, I'm going to refer to him as Mr. Combs. I just typically do that when I'm reading court docs. That's what I do. The court. Now let's proceed to the voir dire for next week. So let me give you a understanding. my understanding of how we're planning to proceed, and then I'll hear from the parties. So it appears that the list of jurors that both sides agree we should call back at this time is sufficient or looks to be sufficient for those purposes. Okay, so it's a lot of stuff about the jurors. I want to go over that tonight, but I'm looking at things that we have a 20-something page transcript. I don't think I need to read it right now. Probably when I get back to my hotel, but I want to give you the 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 reasoning behind, not the reasoning, but the significance behind the government's offer and why he didn't, and what I believe why he didn't take the offer. He was pretty clear that he was not interested. And as I look at some of the filings, that I mean, this case could go either way. The case can go either way, ladies and gentlemen. And the only victim in this case is victim number one. Only victim in this case right now is victim number one. And that's from the court filing. I'm sorry, guys, I'm not seeing your comments. I know I see them coming in, but I don't see them. Okay, with that said, put a 2 in the chat if you want me to continue reading the hearing from today. Put a 2 in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so you want me to continue? I guess I got to continue, ladies and gentlemen. So stand by. I'm going to continue. Since you insist, we're going to continue. Okay. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Somebody bring me some water. I need some water. Somebody bring me water. All right, guys. Here we go. We're going to give you everything, ladies and gentlemen. This is verbatim. So, the court. Now, let's proceed to voir dire for next week. So, let me give you a understanding. My understanding of how we're planning to proceed, and then I'll hear from the parties. Someone's trying to call me, but we don't have to worry about that. I'm gonna put my phone on do not disturb because someone is literally trying to call me in my live broadcast. I do want you guys to stand by. I don't know who's that calling me, but we're gonna turn it off. Okay, my phone is on do not disturb. So whoever's trying to call me, when I find out who you are, I'm gonna put you on blast. Just kidding. So it appears that the list of jurors that both sides agree we should call back at this time is sufficient or looks to be sufficient for our purposes. We will bring in those jurors and need not at this time address the parties' disputes concerning the other list. We have the questionnaires. Thank you for those. Stand by, guys, stand by. Now, the jury office will call jurors in to make sure that we have at least 50 jurors each day that we can question. Here's the plan of action. The plan will be to provide preliminary instructions to the veneer in the morning here in 226A. So you're getting details now. The details. The jurors are going to be in 26A Monday morning. Then the jurors will be escorted to 26B on Monday. The court, one lawyer from each side, and the court's reporter will proceed to the jury room in 26B. There, I will ask the sequestered questions I've identified for two parties. The jurors will either be excused for cause or asked to return to 26B. Once we've reached an appropriate point in the day, say 3 p.m., we'll assemble the remaining jurors in 26A and we will ask the individual questions of the jurors here in this courtroom. Our goal will be to finish the process within 40 jurors that have not been excused for cause. There is some questions, there's some suggestions that we should have more than 40 jurors. I didn't exactly understand the reason why, so I'm happy to hear from the parties on that. But that, in broad strokes, is the court's plan. So, Ms. Comey, if you have issues, then we'll turn to the defense. Ms. Comey, thank you, Your Honor. Taking your last point first. The reason we propose slightly more than 40 is, in this case, between the first day of the in-person voir dire and the final day of the week when we're doing preemptory strikes, any juror comes up with a reason suddenly that they need to be excused. It is helpful to have a buffer. That was why we proposed a little more than 40, which makes sense in my opinion as well, because we saw what happened in the YSL. They ran out of jurors. They had to call a bunch of other jurors that come in to, because the people have excuses. This is going to be a 2-month trial, ladies and gentlemen. So things happen. Things happen. So the prosecution want to make sure they have enough jurors in this case. Oh, this is New York, man. I tell you, ooh, you can see what I'm looking at. Oh my goodness. The court. That sounds like a great reason. Ms. Comey, thank you, Your Honor. The court. Any issue from the defense? Mr. Igniflio, no, Your Honor. Ms. Comey, Your Honor, I wanted to propose and see if Your Honor would accommodate 2 attorneys from each side. That was what Judge Stein did in the Menendez case. Interesting. The court, that's fine. Let's say 45 jurors. Does that sound right? Ms. Comey, yes, Your Honor. I also wanted to confirm my understanding of the process. So the sequestered portion will address questions that I understand go to for cause strikes. Is the court's intention also to ask any follow-up questions that are raised by written questionnaires at that point? The court, yes. I think one of the questions is whether anything has changed. And if in questioning a juror, it arises that there's a need for further questioning, we'll of course do that. Ms. Comey, there was some questionnaires that I think the parties agreed to bring back, but there needs to be some follow-up about the substance of some of the answers in the questions. So, for example, there was some conflicts that were vague or unclear, or some remarks about potential biases that see you Monday.
Practicing?
No, read the transcript. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, those are some of the marshals. Okay. So, for example, there were some conflicts that were vague or unclear, or some remarks about potential biases that needed some inquiry. And so we wanted to ask whether the court would be willing to ask those follow-up questions during the sequestered part. The court, I'm willing to see what questions the parties have for those jurors. Now, what's the best way to get me that information? We can't do it on a juror-by-juror basis, but time is of the essence here. So if there's a way for the parties to just give me a sheet with the juror numbers and the issues with the questionnaires, which I'm going to be reviewing over the next couple of days, then I can certainly add questioning along those lines. And if I miss the issue or the parties believe that Further questions are required. What questions to ask? Comey, exactly, Your Honor. And then here, motion for cause strikes. Doesn't have to stay around till the end to have the preemptory questions asked. Then the preemptory questions will go more quickly if we have struck anyone who can be excused for cause earlier. The court, let me just make sure I understand. So when we do the one-on-one questioning, you're saying that if there is a motion to strike for cause, make it right then? Ms. Comey, exactly, Your Honor, because that will be fresh in our mind. The court, I was vague about that, but that's what I had intended would happen. So you're vague, but that's what you intended would happen. Okay, Judge. Ms. Comey, thank you, Your Honor. The court, Mr. Ignifio. Mr. Ignifio, yes, a couple of things. First, I want to express my gratitude to Your Honor giving this jury questionnaire period a lot of thought. Here are my concerns as the way I understand the procedure. I understand that the questions would be asked to the jurors, not in the defendant's presence. In the defendant's presence. The court, yes. So I guess the issue is whether the defendant is that, Mr. Ignifio. We most respectfully are not. And the reason is because I think the questions are traditional voir dire questions that go to the qualifications of the juror in a general sense, and not in the limited realm of things that are purely logistics. I know the courts. I know the court's probably familiar with a lot of these cases, but there's a great deal of Second Circuit law on this issue, separating what are traditional voir dire questions that go to the jurors' qualifications from things that are more a matter of logistics, where the defendant would not have to be physically present. And I think these questions are all very